Hi, I'm Elizabeth DePompe with DAV, and we're here at DAV National Headquarters in Erlanger, Kentucky, where we're welcoming another cohort of DAV Patriot Boot Camp. They'll be here through Friday, where these entrepreneurs, they're veterans and military spouses who have turned entrepreneurs. They'll get lots of education, they'll get mentorship, they'll get to network with their fellow entrepreneurs and veterans. And I am joined by Chandler Lyles, who is one of our presenters and mentors this week. Chandler, thank you so much for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about your military service?
Yeah, so the military was a savior for me because I tried to go to college for 3 semesters and promptly failed out of that. And luckily my dad had been in the military for a long time and suggested that as an option for me since I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And he was in the Air Force for 20 plus years and gave me that as an option. And I ended up getting the best job of all time. I was a contractor, so I was working with small business owners, helping them negotiate contracts with the government. And it really long-term benefited me because all of a sudden I was exposed to hundreds of small business owners that looked and sounded like me. And all of a sudden I realized owning a business is not some crazy mythical lottery that you just win. Like, you can just work hard, have an idea and execute on it, and it's doable. And that and a lot of other things I got out of my military service, but it was a wonderful, wonderful experience.
And then how did that translate into you actually owning and running your own business?
Yeah, I don't know if it was just like by association or what, and then some other life event things happened, but basically I got married and I had this hobby where I was doing backyard barbecue for fun. And my wife and I joined our bank accounts like you're supposed to do. And then all of a sudden, she started seeing how much this hobby of mine cost. And we had one of those early marriage, discussion things that's like kind of a, it's probably, I should have just listened as a husband. I don't think I knew back then, 12 years ago.
Advice.
Yeah, good note, punch in on that. And, but anyway, so I was sassy to her basically. Instead of just saying like, okay, honey, I'll stop. We can spend more time together. Let's communicate. It's probably the real core issue. I was argumentative and I said, I bet I can go to my office and sell enough to break even. And if I do, you can't give me a hard time about my hobby anymore. And she just was like, whatever. And I did. I went to the office and I had some ribs and I was kind of like walking around like an illegal drug dealer, like, you want to try some, you want to hit? And I did sell enough to break even. And then it just sort of word of mouth grew over the next year. And it got to the point where I was taking like vacation time on a Friday to fulfill like 40 or 50 racks of ribs on a little small $100 backyard smoker. And by the time that rolled around, my contract was ending with the Air Force. I was all in, very addicted to this new lifestyle of like, oh, you can like own your own thing and build your own business and dream and all that. And so my contract ended. I didn't get another job. I just went all in on it.
And so we talked about this before. What was that like for you to be able to transition into this other community and purpose that you already had kind of going for yourself?
Yeah, so obviously when you're in the military, it's a very tight-knit community. Luckily now, after a lot of work from organizations like the DAV and the VA and a lot of other people, people respect veterans now a lot more than I think they did 40 or 50 years ago, which is amazing. But as soon as I took the uniform off and I was just a 4-year enlisted guy, that contract ended, that identity was very quickly fading. And so it was very nice to be able to step into another mission, so to speak, almost immediately. So there was almost no dead time for me in between. And I think that really helped with my transition a lot because I immediately went from like trying to help serve my country to immediately like serving my community barbecue.
Yeah. And how did you hear about DAV Patriot Boot Camp? How did you get involved with us?
Yeah, one of the head guys here, Nick, and I met at a networking event here in Cincinnati. And as soon as he explained what the DAV was, and then what this sub-program within the DAV does, the Patriot Boot Camp, I just immediately was like, I have to get involved because you're taking 2 things that I love, my military experience. My brother's in the Air Force still, flies planes. My dad was a retired Air Force guy, tons of family, but I had been completely removed from that. And here in Cincinnati, there's not a lot of bases, there's not a lot of military activity for whatever reason, but all of a sudden I was able to connect back into that and the new world that I've been living for the last 15 years, which is entrepreneurship and small business. And it was like a perfect melding of everything I've been doing since I'm going to say dropped out of college, but it's probably failed out of college. But it's been awesome. And I've been to 2 of these events now and they're both fantastic.
What's it like for you to be able to kind of, in a way, give back, right? Because all of our mentors, they volunteer their time to be here, very generous with their time. How rewarding is it for you to be able to kind of help your brothers and sisters?
Yeah, so when I started my business, this was 2014, so like it was very early YouTube, very early informational technology age. Like there wasn't as much as there is now. And so what that meant was that when you're starting a business, what we call a chief everything officer, aka the CEO of a company of one, but you still have to do everything, which means you have to learn everything. You have to learn sales, you have to learn marketing, you have to learn HR, legal structure, funding. Like, you learn everything it's an MBA, really, at the end of the day. When you start a business, you're learning everything. Back then, there was no credible source of truth. And so you basically spend hours scouring books and YouTube videos and podcasts and just everything. And when you have no experience, you don't know what is snake oil, and you don't know what is like, oh, that's a good nugget, let me put that away. And unfortunately, for like 6 straight years of building that barbecue restaurant, I had to pay to learn. I mean, I ended up paying for education. It just was through a business versus a college. And I think that was why I immediately wanted to get plugged back in here, because I know the journey of like literally starting from $0 and an idea, and then all of a sudden, your future's open, but you don't know the clear roadmap. And so having people like this and a program like this, and mentors even to take time off of work to come in and share their expertise, you're helping these people that are good people with a good background, with a big dream. You're helping them clearly cut a road forward to actually be able to get to where they're trying to go. And unfortunately, the world has always been full of people trying to sell snake oil in one form or fashion. Back in the day, it was literal snake oil, and now it's like, buy my course for $5,000 and I will turn you into this blah, blah, blah. And like, they're very good marketers. And as a marketer, I respect the game, but it's a problem. And so I think that's what I love about what you guys are doing, why I'm happy to dedicate as much time as I can to it, because I just think the world's a better place when there's more small business owners. And I also think if we could give veterans a new mission to get on in their new lives, in their communities, like, nobody I'd rather have leading a local community than somebody with a military background. Like, all the things that come with your values and training and mentality, like, that will cascade forward. I think you and I were talking about this offline a little while ago. It's like, I had thousands of employees when I had the barbecue restaurant over 6 years. Now, that's the way restaurants work. 90 days, turn, da-da-da. But every one of them heard about, like, we serve like this, we put others first, we work as a team, da-da-da. And they may have never heard that message before, but all of a sudden, being able to work with a veteran entrepreneur, and I'm not special, I just was trained that way by a lot of other smart, airmen. Now I was able to pass that message on, and I like to think that maybe there's some like cascade that goodwill happened for the Lexington, Kentucky community, but I think we just need more, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Also important to point out that these 3 days of programming for participants come at no cost. Also, participants will get a chance to compete in a pitch competition that has cash prizes. Chandler, can you tell us about High Beam Marketing and where folks can learn more?
Yeah, so through my process with the barbecue restaurant, I figured out that, I talked about this in my talk today. It's like, the best products don't win, the best known products win. And the best way to become known is to figure out how to market your business. And so 3 years ago, me and a couple buddies founded High Beam Marketing, and we help people basically get attention triggered by emotion to actually get some influence to be able to sell more products. Because we talked about this earlier. Cash flow is the number one reason businesses close. I mean, 50% of the businesses close in the first 5 years. Cash is the number one reason why. And marketing is a huge issue with that, because if you spend money on my joke is, or the story I lived was, I bought a billboard and it didn't return any cash for me. And so I was just out almost $3,000 like that. And it was hard to come by money back then. It still is, but so if High Beam Marketing can be a resource for anybody out there that is looking for answers, we have a ton of articles online, a ton of YouTube videos. We try to educate first, and then when you're at the right size, like, we'd love to sell you something. But at the most part, I'm just trying to teach you what I know, and then eventually, we'll work together or not. We'll see. Yep.
highbeammarketing.com.
That's right.
All right, That's where you folks can go to learn more. Thank you for watching. You can follow us all week for updates from DAV Patriot Boot Camp, and you can learn more at patriotbootcamp.com.